Hey there, Brian Baldwin here with Esri's education team. I wanted to walk through just a quick example of creating atlases for your students with a curated set of content. And this was based on just an article I just saw the other day, and I think a lot of you maybe saw in the news, and it kind of cracked me up. Um, the article here, and I've got one from NBC News, saying the Great Wall of China severely damaged by workers looking for a shortcut. And if you saw this, I'm sure many of you pictured something of the Great Wall that maybe looked like this. And same thing with students or others, and those not really familiar with what the Great Wall of China even means. And for me, this raised an awesome learning opportunity to dive into, the length of the Great Wall, the size of it, what it meant to have it built and constructed over hundreds of years, dozens of kind of dynasties, and what better way to do that than with GIS. So the tool that I ended up using is something called the Atlas, and it's a configurable application from InstantApps. And I'll show you how to build one out yourself, and I'll also share this one with you in the comments or in the description. You can see here I start with just a basic blank map. But rather than having students or others go search across the Living Atlas or ArcGIS Online for data, you can actually create a curated set of maps. If I hit here, open map, and I have a map of just China with some elevation, as well as one with population density, or you have the ability to add layers. So here I actually wanted to have students look at Chinese provinces throughout kind of history. So we've got a set of Chinese provinces from 1389, one from 1820, as well as some recent boundaries of just the country, and then a digitized line of the Great Wall that came from National Geographic. So let's start by opening one of these maps. So I'm just going to click and open this map, and this now is just pulling in some layers from Esri's Living Atlas, and I kind of symbolized them for how I wanted them to appear. So we're looking at an elevation surface here to see, what the elevation looks like, as well as just the outline of China. And if I wanted my students to, I could then have them add a simple layer here. And the one that I've got is one that just shows an outline or a line of the Great Wall. And the first thing to note here for students and others is just simply, I love the way that you can see how some of these topological features play into the decisions for where the Great Wall got placed in its development. Obviously, up in the north here, you've got all of this elevation, and it's really clear kind of around Beijing up here in the north, how the border of the wall is kind of up in the mountains up here and doesn't, starting to kind of protect more of the fertile or lower lying areas around Beijing kind of further to the south. So using that topography and using that geography. A couple of the other nice simple tools anyone could use here are some of the measure tools or elevation profiles. So when we think of the Great Wall of China, how long are we talking about here? And this is just a simple sketch. But as I click along, what did it mean that these workers dug a hole and smashed their way through the Great Wall? I've just sketched a little bit of kind of some of my way along the wall here, and I've already gone 566 miles. If we zoom out a little bit, you can see I haven't even covered, a third of the length. And again, the history of the Great Wall, which we're not going to dive into in this short video, is that it was built over hundreds of years in multiple different sections that overlap of different materials, built for different purposes and different uses. And it doesn't all look like this wall that we kind of picture from textbooks. So how would I get started making something like this? If you're in ArcGIS Online, all you need to start with is creating a group. And so if I go to my groups, I'm going to scroll down, and I've created a group called Great Wall of China. And then you have the ability to go in and add your own data or maps. And you can also add data that just exists already from the ArcGIS Living Atlas. So as an example, I'm going to go to Content for this group, hit Add Items to the group, and then you could search across data you own, kind of maps or layers you have. And the most powerful part of this is I can go and search across the Living Atlas. So if I do a quick search for China, if we spell it correctly, could add any of these additional layers in so students and anyone can now explore this data within my atlas. Or you could also use ArcGIS Online. And the other thing to be aware of too, if you know of authoritative sources of data sets or others that are publishing data, one great example of this is Harvard's World Map, which just migrated all of their repositories and data over to the Living Atlas. You could add any of this data, or excuse me, into ArcGIS Online. You could add any of this data you want to as well into your map and into your kind of specific atlas to make it discoverable. You're probably familiar with the Living Atlas. This again is a great source of curated data, and any of this information or these layers, you could come in and then add into that group, which could then be made available to users to find in your atlas. So after you've added items or content to that group, you can go to Content, create an app, in this case an instant app, and then the instant app you're going to be looking for is called the Atlas. Simply hit Choose, give it a name, and then point it to the group that you want to use where your content is going to feed in from. And then you can set the base map that you want to use. You can set the way that it's going to look, the different base maps that will be discoverable and used by your users. And one of the things I wanted to do here, if I come back to our article, this is a great piece of this, is where did this even take place? So our workers here did not dig into the classic kind of Great Wall near us, just north of Beijing. It was in Youyu County in Shanxi province. If I scroll down, sad photo of them being arrested. And here's what the picture of the Great Wall actually looks like in that location. So present day, it looks like just kind of an earthen mound. And so if we come back to my application and we go and search for Youyu, can actually come into that town in Shanxi. You can see up north is where the Great Wall kind of comes through that location. And if we wanted to as well, could drop some pins on the map to remind us of where that location is. And also flip this map into 3D to let your students or let others explore what this location looks like with the geography, with the topography. So with that, I hope that helped you find some kind of fun ways to expose your students and others to topical and relevant data, and also the ability to quickly build out an atlas to share information with. This one really sparked my interest just because of the way that this headline really captivates. But when you start to dive into it, it's not as stark or striking of a news story as one would think on the cover. So with that, please go and explore the Atlas tool. Go make your own atlas or use the one that I created here to look at and dive a little bit deeper into this story. Thanks.